Hey y'all, my name is Ann Wyatt. I started my career in workforce development with the state of Kentucky in 2010. That experience ignited a deep passion for manufacturing within me. I started this show hoping to raise more awareness around the bright outlook manufacturing careers have. Join me as I sit down with some of the manufacturing industry's most successful changemakers and learn how they're partnering people with technology. It's time to give people more meaningful work. This is Workforce 4.0. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Workforce 4.0. We are super excited to have a special guest with us, Angela Ortiz here from NewForge. She is going to be delving into the realm of AR for manufacturing companies and how AR is impacting work instructions. Welcome, Angela. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we are joined here with Ryan Treese as well. He is guest co-hosting this season on Workforce 4.0.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep. Great to see you, Ann. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Before we get started, Angela, I don't know if you want to take a minute to formally introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit more about your role at NewForge and what you guys are up to.
Yeah. So again, my name is Angela Ortiz. I'm the co-founder at NewForge. So pretty much wear many hats as a small company does. So primarily my role is in partnerships, also with marketing and business development. So that's kind of like the role that I play at NewForge. So it's pretty exciting. It's a pretty exciting industry.
Awesome. We're definitely going to get into that partnership role. I think we could learn a lot about how we can take some of those skill sets and apply those to our community partners as well. I'm really looking forward to talking more about that too today. Ryan, do you want to take a minute and formally introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Ann. So Ryan Treese, Business Development Manager at 𝗬𝗏 in our IoT platforms team. So a lot of edge compute and cloud compute applications. And then also co-founder at Industry 4.0 Club. So with yourself, Ann. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of how Ryan and I got to know each other, is through Industry 4.0 Club. And we've just been talking ever since. So fun times. Yeah. But to get into the conversation, Angela, I've got to start out every show with the same question. And, you know, I'm a huge, huge lover of music. I'm this person that there is pretty much a song for everything. But I've got to know, what is your favorite karaoke song or your favorite song?
Okay. So those are great questions. And I came prepared. So my favorite karaoke song is, I'm hoping I don't torture it, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen.
Yes.
Everyone knows that, right? Is that everyone's song?
Absolutely. It's a popular one here on the show. I'm still trying to perfect that for my next karaoke performance as well.
Oh yeah, that's always the first one that's requested. And then my friends will sign me up for stuff and I'll go up. I don't know. Iggy, when Iggy was popular, we would go up and sing Iggy.
That's
funny. Oh yes. Yes.
Yeah. Girls just want to have fun. You know, the basics. Those are easy.
Absolutely.
Pretty easy.
I love karaoke. So you go karaoke?
Yeah,
do you do this often?
Not really. I used to have parties on a regular basis, like New Year's. And so we'd have our friends over and we'd do karaoke quite often. So we were kind of known for having karaoke. So recently we had a 4th of July party. And so I was planning on have karaoke because that's like my go-to, because it's like easy to entertain everyone, kids, teenagers, adults. But my electricity went out.
Oh, no.
So we didn't get to play it. So we had to entertain ourselves in other ways. But it was a really good 4th of July. But unfortunately, no karaoke. So the answer to your question is, I don't do it very often, but I do enjoy it every now and then. As long as people aren't like super good.
Yeah.
Because you're there to have fun. It's like, why do we have to? Then it becomes like a competition, and you know, you need to actually sound good, and that's not the point of it. The point is to have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you do sound good, that's okay too.
Yeah. No one wants to follow up the really good act, right? It
Right?
just takes someone that's completely shameless, that is just like, okay, I sacrificed myself as tribute. I will embarrass myself after the great performance.
Right.
Yeah.
But if everyone sounds equally the same, it's more fun. But
Yeah, that's fun activity.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love karaoke. It's one of the things that I just like. I'm an avid shower singer, by the way, but I need a good karaoke friend. So if either of you are are ever local here or as far as Nashville, would be good.
well, you go to a lot of
Let me know.
industry shows.
True.
We
That could be
should
your
do.
industry karaoke night. That'll be your thing. You could be the
Well,
karaoke.
I want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do that.
Are you going to Fab Tech?
I don't have plans to go to FabTech. I think the next thing I'm looking at is ATX West, potentially. But we'll have to do that. Ryan,
Yeah.
would you come with us? Would you go karaokeing with us?
I'm in. I'm
Woohoo!
the guy that embarrasses himself to sacrifice his tribute, by the way. That's why I'm so familiar with that. So don't worry. If there's someone good, I'll go after them. I'll do terrible. Everyone will feel comfortable going. Great times are had by all. I like how we're asking the important questions out there. The
These are the
karaoke,
questions.
karaoke in the industry, right?
Yes, it breaks the ice. We're like human. We're human beings, that work in manufacturing.
Exactly. We are not robots. We are the people.
Exactly.
By golly.
We can't
Will
we
Keeley.
can't be replaced completely.
Mhm.
You wouldn't have as much fun as with a robot, right? Or maybe you would.
As you can see here, the title of this episode is AR and VR for Manufacturing, the TLDR. I was very proud of myself, y'all.
Clever. Very clever.
But focusing more the of what NewForge kind of offers to the industry. How do you feel like AR technology will ultimately impact the manufacturing industry?
I think in the future is definitely going to be the future of work. I think we're getting through some hurdles right now with the lack of resources. So you have all these AR projects that, that are being deployed, and then 80% of them fail because there's nobody to implement them. But I think with other solutions that are coming to pair with it, the future is bright moving forward, especially with AI getting better and more accepted. So I think with pairing maybe the two, that it will be very helpful in helping pushing projects to scale is what we're having, the common issue in the industry with the lack of resources and the people to put those work instructions together, because someone has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, with our platform, we're working on the AI portion of it.
That's exciting. So when I think of AR, I think the Google glasses, right? You can still see the real world. You got just some overlays with some boxes indicating. So that's what you're doing in the manufacturing. Which applications are you seeing? Is it a lot of older applications, like a PIC light system converting to like an AR application? Or are you finding new ones that haven't been addressed by current technology?
Both. It's been replaced. So moving away from the PIC to light, a lot of customers will find that it's easier to implement and the instructions stay. There's so many benefits for it.
So I'm always curious, is it efficiency? Is it cost? Is it work? Like, what are some of these driving factors, I guess, would be a better question.
Oh my gosh. Efficiency, so increased quality, faster training, and then you get the standardized process that you're not going to get with a PIC to light. And I'm sure it's helpful in certain use cases, but this is something that can be paired on a specific line, maybe that where you'd want to be able to, increase that quality or have a more standardized process by having step-by-step work instructions in your line of view. So as Ryan mentioned, we use smart glasses in the industry. So the software is on the smart glasses, and you'll see step-by-step work instructions in your line of view that will take you through your process. So your SOP, your PM, whatever it is that you're using to complete the process, you'll see that in your line of view, which again increases quality, reduces errors.
Yeah, and it helps with people with maybe ADHD or something where they have trouble focusing. I would
Right?
love to have Google Glass overlay that's like fixtured, it's like point like Ryan, attention here, attention here,
Exactly.
and then like exact work instructions, right? Like go. And so I think that's especially in the manufacturing environment, there's so much going on, right? There's a lot of noise around you. And maybe for new employees that need to be trained, stuff like that. So
that is one of the top use cases, is probably training. I'm hearing more and more customers asking for training, to train their workforce. So, this can bring your training down from 4 to 6 weeks to just a few weeks or even a week.
Nice.
So it reduces your training time immensely.
that's it. Yeah.
So one of the biggest challenges, because right now I'm doing some HR consulting for a client of mine, and I'm kind of working with her on creating work instructions and getting that SOP finalized and ready for her company. But one of the biggest challenges I would have to imagine is extracting the tribal knowledge and then converting that information to the digital work instructions, and then, also to the application. How do you navigate that? Do you work with them to mitigate that on any level, or what does that process look like from getting the knowledge that's inside that person's head to the work instruction for you all?
Yeah, you asked so many questions there.
Yeah, when you walk into a factory,
Yeah,
where do you begin on that current process, right? How do you take what they have and then make it yours?
So this can be a long-winded answer. So it really depends on where that knowledge is. Is it in someone's head that can be easily transferred onto paper, and then we help them create work instructions, or we teach them to create work instructions? Or is it in this pile of manuals?
Mm-hmm.
Ever heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
That you have to extrapolate the steps, and you need someone to actually do that. So that's come up, and we're working on solving that problem. There's different ways that we can go about this. And I will admit that some of the biggest hurdles are with finding someone to create work instructions, because again, it's back to the resources. There's not enough resources, and it's even tracking down that tribal knowledge. So hopefully you have that somewhere in your repository of information. So then you need to have someone actually make that into work instructions. So something that we're working on with AI would be able to have a repository of knowledge that you can search and find information on a specific piece of equipment. And then it creates the work instructions for you.
Oh, that's cool. So you have references for like an automotive fascia assembly, or you'd have references for this type of steel manufacturing process, or whatever that may be. You just are using, okay, here's a similar process on a similar piece of equipment, and then you try to auto generate that kind of and apply it to their framework. That's so cool.
As long as we can feed the database of knowledge, as long as we're able to do that. Or you may have all these pieces of equipment in your plant, and you have instructions on a few of them, and some of them there's specific things that you don't have that knowledge for. So you need to find an expert. So what we're working towards is building our platform of experts that have that knowledge that you don't have on hand. And then we're able to feed that information, and as AI is, that we come up with errors. So we need the human part of it to correct those work instructions and to say, yes, that was right. So some validation with that, but that's the kind of the sneak peek of like what we're working on.
How important is getting the operator buy-in that's actually wearing the smart glasses, right? So when I was selling machine vision solutions, it was very important to get that kind of feedback as to what's going on in that station every day, right? So I would imagine you're working with some sort of process engineer or a lean manufacturing engineer to kind of initially get those workfront instructions, but it was a surprise number that 80% of these fell through that you mentioned earlier, right? And so I'm wondering, is
in
it
the industry along the whole line?
Yeah. And so I've seen it too, right? I'll see awesome use cases in like one station of the plant. And I'm like, why isn't this everywhere? Right. And so is that more on the lack of knowledge for how to actually program these smart glasses? Why do you think that pull through isn't coming
Well,
through?
we have a really good deployment process. So we're a system integrator of TeamViewer. So we've deployed a lot of this for TeamViewer. So I would say that we're trailblazers when it comes to deployments. And I think we do a really good job at executing that. Where we come up with conflict or where we see the most difficulty is with the resources. So one of the hurdles that we have is finding a champion. And I know you probably see this
a leader.
as well.
Yep.
Finding that leader, finding that champion that believes in it and that sees that it can change the way that they work. It can change, it can make their employees happier because their work is getting done with less rework. And it just really helps streamline the process. So when you have someone that can really champion for it, that makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference if it's making sure that everyone's involved in this. Every time I have a meeting with people and we do training, I want to have every decision maker, every stakeholder involved in that discussion because it affects everyone, especially your front line, because they're the ones that are going to be using it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has to be adaptable to them, right? It has to be easy to adopt technology that is actually improving their day-to-day to get the continual buy-in. That's so crucial. I think that's in systems integration. You almost have to have that mindset. And I think maybe there's a gap there sometimes. So I love hearing that. I love that you want all of the leadership involved and even HR, right? Yeah.
And the data's there. Like you're able to pull the data to see like where the bottlenecks were. You can see how long it took you to complete the process like now versus what it was like before. So you have all this data. So when we do a project, you have metrics. So you get to see firsthand how efficient this is making your process.
So another question, how much data are you pulling from the machines? Right. And so to get that kind of, are you getting like cycle count, throughput information, scrap rate? Are you pulling all that from like a PLC? I guess I'm always wondering, how much are you pulling from the existing systems around you? And then how much are you creating on the machine vision side, right? Because it seems like the smart glasses having that fixturing and dashboarding kind of capabilities, I'm always curious how those two meet, I guess.
Okay. Well, now we're getting into weeds.
Sorry. Yeah. Like I said.
So basically is like you would integrate that into your ERP system or even maybe even your warehouse management system or your PLC. So it's collecting that data. So it's pulling from it and then pushing that information. So it's collecting that information. So it's pulling and pushing. So I'm going to stop right there so I don't torture it. So, but basically the answer is yes, that information can be collected.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
I was just going to jump in. I'm kind of down the rabbit hole of partnerships and how we can maybe take some of these same ideas and apply them to your community training providers as well. But as a co-founder of NewForge and your emphasis being on partnerships and really the people side of the technology, do you have any takeaways or just the key to success on how to build meaningful partnerships?
Right. Well, I definitely think it's having a clear understanding of their goals and objectives just in both parties. Even, they understand what our goals and objectives are, and we understand what their goals and objectives are. And then trust and open communication are very important to ensure that both parties are working towards the same goal.
And I think you can kind of apply that to any of your nonprofits and your educational providers that are, or other workforce development teams that you would have in your local area.
Absolutely.
So
building those relationships is key.
That's a great takeaway. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And being in that co-founder and partnership role, and I know that you had a background in biz development, as does Ryan. Did you ever see yourself in your previous role breaking away from that and starting this company in AR technology?
No. So it was definitely it's just sometimes never be surprised how things evolve and the background that you have, because I had no idea that I was going to end up in manufacturing or even a co-founder role. So again, my background was business. I have a master's degree in business, which has been very helpful. So it gives me a kind of knowledge of like everything across the board. I have a little bit of understanding in everything. So to help run a business, I have marketing background. So that's been very helpful as well. Project management, which is my undergrad as well, or my graduate concentration was. So having the project management piece was really helpful when I go into a plant and we kind of, especially trying to keep people focused. Scope creep.
Oh yeah. Those are my those two words, scope creep. That's painful.
That's Ryan's favorite.
It's very painful.
So is that something you noticed right away, Angela? So being new to manufacturing, what were some things that you were surprised about?
When I came to manufacturing, I was really surprised. Well, I've been in the industry for about 6 years now, probably going on 7. So one of the things that kind of surprised me was a lot of things were still on paper.
Yep.
Like the processes weren't, in my opinion, weren't very standardized. And that's what we're working to do, is to help standardize the process, or even being able to find it, or someone just had it in their head.
Yeah.
And then they're retiring.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They're walking out the door, they're tribal knowledge.
Exactly. I mentioned that earlier, right? And it's so funny.
Excuse me, let me get that out of your head first.
It's right. Like you go on the plant.
Excuse me. Sir, ma'am, can you stop them at the door, and just have them right? Is there a device for that? We should, and get them to just mentally dump all of their information, their knowledge to us.
Well, eventually, maybe that will happen somehow.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's a very big shocker when people start going into manufacturing, because you assume, okay, this is going to be the latest tech. Everything is going to be automated. All the data is going to be nice and neat. Everything talks. Nothing talks to each other. Nothing's even guaranteed to be networked on the local plant network.
You nailed it. Nothing talks to each other sometimes.
Yeah. And so when you're doing applications like this, right, I would imagine you're pulling from this ERP system, this type of machine. That's where I think a lot of people get kind of stuck in scaling that kind of stuff. So that's a big eye opener for myself walking in. Plus, like you said, the manual paper, like I've seen companies that use an Excel spreadsheet as a traceability solution. They're just scanning a barcode into a blank Excel spreadsheet. And then there's the whiteboards, right? One of my favorite things to do is right when you walk in the factory, you see all these whiteboards, right? Usually in the central area. And I'm just like, oh, can we look at those? And I'm like, okay, here's a metric you're tracking. This is a metric you're tracking, right? It's a cheat sheet as soon as you get in there. And you're like, I mean, and half of them, you'll ask them and they'll be like, we don't really know why we track that, but we do, right?
Very common. Very, very common, yes. And that whiteboard is very common too.
Yeah. Yes. I want to be the whiteboard salesperson to manufacturing. Like they got to be retired at this point, but
I'm taking notes to walk by that whiteboard.
Exactly.
I'm like, okay. So I'm like the chief listener. So, you have the techie people, and techie people listen differently than non-techie people do. So I'm listening for different things than the techie people are. So I'm like taking notes of things as I go by. I'm like, okay, that's their metric that are going. So then I can mention that when we're going through the process and going, okay, you know how you have this metric, this, right? And then we can, you know, kind of rehash that and make that better. Yeah.
That was another fun thing, right? You're listening, and you're like, oh, that's a new word. And then I was always wondering, is this an industry term or is this an internal term? Like, I feel like they're just always making stuff up at this point. I'm like, I haven't heard that before. And so I always just ask, right? Like, usually you can get the context, but I'm like, what is this? And usually they're like, oh, that's just what we call it here. So it's almost like you're speaking a different language sometimes as well.
Yes,
it is.
So like we were talking earlier before the call, it's like a different, you know, technology. It's like it's like speaking a different language. Yeah. And then you learn new words as you go to the plant, and like you said, and new internal words for sure. Yep.
Do you think that? Yeah, I hear that a lot too, even in job descriptions. Even in like the verbiage of job descriptions, job titles, it becomes kind of either plant centric or industry centric, and there's a lot of confusion with that. Do you think that technology like AR, do you think that'll help us, or AI, in kind of breaking down those barriers?
I think so, for sure. Yeah, I think with the technology of AI coming on board, especially it's accelerated in the last like 6 months.
Yeah.
I've seen it
like overnight, like it was a switch. Oh, we're doing this now. Oh, ChatGPT, like it's like this is things that we have been talking about for a while now, and it's like, oh, it's here already.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a switch they flipped a switch, and so
yes.
I know as soon as COVID hit, everyone's like, importance of digital transformation, importance of, you know, having that remote access for your workers, and then having these smart solutions like AI. But really, yeah, I've noticed in the last 6 months, a lot of companies are like, we're not doing this as like a pilot or a science experiment. We're realizing this is an important part of our business moving forward strategically, and they're treating it as so. Is kind of the attitude I've seen kind of change in these past 6 months. They have budgets set aside, they have dedicated roles, and different things like that. So I'm glad that you're seeing the same on your end. That's a great observation.
I'd really like the technology to get to a place where, because I know that data is important, and I know machine data is important, and cycle times and all of this stuff, right? I know that's important, but I would like for it to get to a point where people data is also a verifiable metric.
Yes, I like that.
For hiring, promotions.
Yes.
Culture development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How will we keep track of it? So I think those aren't those like typical like HR questions that get asked from employees, but how seriously are they being taken? They're like,
that's
okay,
my
thanks.
thing.
Got that information.
Yeah, but if you look at data that I'd imagine that you guys are also using with NewForge, even some of that data, I bet you would be able to make certain analysis there. Like if, for example, if there's one of your best employees, we'll say, for example, and they have an average, task time completion, and that slips or exceeds for some reason abnormally, I think that's a great opportunity for your HR leaders or your team leaders to go in and facilitate conversations and learn more. Are they injured? Is something going on
in their home life?
Yeah.
What's going on with you, the human?
Exactly. That's a real opportunity for our people leaders, right, to step up and have those conversations as one-on-one conversations that are important to culture building and team building and all that good stuff.
Definitely. I like that. Yeah. More of that should happen for sure.
Yeah. I think that comes down to leadership, right? And how you're viewing. So you can always get that kind of people data, but how are they acting upon that? Is it supportive, or is it more like, hey, I'm going to put you on a performance improvement plan, right? So when I was implementing technology, anything with a camera on it, they're like, am I being monitored? Is this gonna, like, if I'm having a slow day, am I gonna get like yelled at? Or if I'm not feeling well?
Yeah.
Now they have quantifiable
Yeah.
data that either can be used to help solve the problem or to be used to, eliminate the problem. And I think that, are you seeing those kind of concerns, Angela, with the AR technology, right? So having a camera on their face, are they weary about tracking privacy, about job security in those situations?
Yeah, that definitely has raised questions, and then we're able to combat those concerns when they come up. But certainly, especially they want to know, especially HR. Sometimes when HR gets involved, they'll ask those questions. So they come up and we address those with them. I mean, that's kind of a long list of things. But like one of them being like the camera, it depends on the device that you're paired with, that you choose. You can take off the camera. So sometimes facilities don't want cameras in their plants, like at all. Like you can't have them.
Definitely.
Even though you can have your cell phone.
Yeah.
But
put a little red sticker over the camera.
Red sticker. We've done stickers. We've done caps. So we've taken care of those issues when they come up. And then I think it's up to the organization to decide and work with their HR department to decide what they're collecting is going to be the key thing. And that's outside of our control. So I definitely think that's an internal discussion. And that's usually how we handle it when that comes up. But it definitely does come up, and it should be a concern. But as long as it's addressed in a way to make the employee feel safe, and again, back to job security, is like, we don't want that. We want to help make your job better. We don't want to take your job. It's meant to assist the human, not take away the human.
Absolutely.
I see this cheating, You can if I walk into the workday, and I have this like AI based, like just mindlessly, and they say you have the option to use these glasses. Every time I'm like, yoink, like that's a no brainer for me. But not everyone sees it as that helpful productivity tool. So
absolutely. Like an example, in a warehouse, there was someone that was picking, I'm going to make up a number. Let's say 800. His pick was like 800. Oh, I can't remember the right words to use for this to give you a fair. But anyways, it increased, it tripled. So if their cases that they were picking was 800, this doubled it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he wanted to use it. So that's an example of someone who, a frontline worker that wasn't excited about it at first. But as you said, Ryan, is like, why wouldn't you if it's making...
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, if it's making your process faster, so you're getting more done.
Yeah, I think that's a huge tangent I'm always on too, is we have to start introducing this type of technology into our process and onto our floor. And I think that's a huge recruitment tool that goes missed. I think, anyone that is probably of the millennial generation or younger, this would be exciting. Probably most of Gen X too. I mean, to be honest. So I don't know why there's such a slow adoption. And I don't know if companies are really utilizing that idea behind their technology as a recruitment tool. But I think there's a lot to that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, think about it as a job description, right? If I'm going to be an operator in a manufacturing facility, when I picture that job in the US, just based off my experience, it's dirty, it's oily, it's loud. People are stressed out. They're anxious if I make too many mistakes, especially if I stop the line. I never want to stop production ever, right? And so there's a lot of, I guess, anxiety that could happen.
Absolutely.
There, right.
And and we see that. And that's what's so important about having really good training and being involved in that process with them, walking them through that, making technology less intimidating.
Yeah.
Because change, it's hard and it creates stress. It can create stress. And so we want to help eliminate that, make it less, and show them how easy it can be used before they go out and do it. So it's a great training tool.
That's the best feeling.
Absolutely.
When you deploy that solution, right? And you have someone who's like questionable, bah humbug. And then you see that like, oh, my life's easier, right? And I just love making it easier for people. Like, I don't want you stressed out. I want this to be almost fun, like you're in a video game.
Right.
People feel like they're in the future when they have these headsets on. It almost gamifies it, right? I always think of gamification, right? Like, how do I get the high score here? How do I get my picks up, right? And so, I don't know. I think
the challenge, it comes like a competitive, but in a fun way, you know?
Exactly. And that's how you execute on that. Oh, go ahead, Ann. Sorry.
The recruiting sauce is people want to go to work, you know, do their job, have fun, go home safely.
Yep.
That's the sauce. And a tool like this is a great way to save the company, you know, money on the training and development piece of it, and also a great way to engage your workforce. So, you know, you're gaining a recruitment tactic, and you're also gaining a retention tactic, right?
100%.
Yeah. I would be up for that. I don't know. Ryan, you would be up for that?
For what?
Absolutely.
For the
just
AR
walking into walking into the plant and already there, and you're like, let me try these on.
I want it all day, every day, and I don't just want it at the plant. I want it in my life. I want it to say, Ryan, your new mission is to go to the kitchen and get a snack. So that way, when I walk into the kitchen, I'll be like, why am I here? And there'll be a big box in front of me saying, Ryan, here's the snack cabinet, okay? Here's your calories for the day. Yeah, I want this all over the place. I'm in.
Yeah, I want that. I want the calorie things. Like, okay, no more snacks today.
Right? You just go to put the food. It does a calorie count in front of you. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, especially since a lot of us work from home now, so we need that.
Yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah.
You're like, you're back again.
New application.
You've been here 3 times already.
There's your consumer vertical. You know, it's going to be based on the health and diet vertical.
Thank you. Yes, that's right up my alley.
Oh, that's awesome.
I need that just for my ADD, honestly,
right?
For task management. So I think we're running close on time today, but I wanted to part with one more question if Angela has time.
Sure.
Okay. What is your one piece of advice for individuals that are interested in trying something new, taking that leap of faith, or just taking that step in transitioning their career into maybe new technology that they don't have a whole lot of experience with?
The easiest thing I think you can do is probably just start with research and researching like emerging technology and just really knowing what's coming, what companies are using. So I think that is really important. Start there. That's the easiest thing you can do, is just, you know, do some research. Probably, just start understanding the basics. If you want to get into whatever it is in manufacturing, just learn more about that. But again, back to research. See if you even like, if it's intriguing. Like with us, Ryan and I didn't have a background initially in technology, and we kind of were immersed in it, but on purpose, because they say manufacturing is sexy. Have you seen those shirts?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I love going into a plant and watching their process. I was in a plant recently and I was washing dishwashers, going through the process and being stamped. It was just so, and I could just stand there all day and watch it. I just love it. So I know, just start with an interest and just kind of like, okay, that was interesting. Now research something else to kind of decide where you think that you'd be a good fit.
I like it.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that with us. And thank you for your time today. This was a great conversation. This was a lot of fun, and I needed that today. So thank you guys. Yeah. Ryan, do you have anything you want to add before we close out here?
Also, thank you, Angela, for joining us. And if other people want one, what's the best way to kind of get started on figuring out if they have an application or how to get a hold of you for this.
Yeah. So you can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, Angela Ortiz. You can look for NewForge. You can go to our website, newforge.pro or newforgetech.com, any of those. And maybe we can put a link or something. If I see this, I can put some information in there. And if you just have any questions, always just feel free to reach out. Getting comfortable with the technology. It's a relationship in itself.
Yeah, love that. Well, thank you both for the conversation today. If anybody that is listening wants to learn more about NewForge and Angela Ortiz, please reach out to her directly on LinkedIn. Otherwise, we will see you next time for another episode of Workforce 4.0.
Thank you, guys. It was so fun.